The script had been rewritten so many times that actors were sometimes performing lines they'd seen for the first time that morning. The director chose the job with a coin toss. Two major stars had departed before the studio landed on the performer who made everything work, and the most quoted prop in the film came from a hotel lobby. That was Beverly Hills Cop, the highest-grossing film of 1984, ahead of Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones, a production that should not have held together and became one of the most beloved comedies in cinema history. Today, 15 facts about Beverly Hills Cop, from the $400,000 spent on an actor who never filmed a scene, to the real Detroit homicide inspector who needed no preparation, to the detail Brest left permanently in the final cut. Stick around for the bonus. Fact 1. Two Hollywood stars, $400,000, and Murphy got the call 2 weeks out. Mickey Rourke was paid $400,000 simply to keep the role available while the script went through development, not to film anything, just to be attached. When his contract ran out, Paramount had spent nearly $500,000 with nothing to show for it. Stallone came aboard, rewrote the material, stripped out what little comedy survived, envisioned massive explosions and ultra-violent sequences that had executives doing panicked arithmetic, and renamed the lead Axel Cabretti, a name better suited to a paperback villain than a wisecracking Detroit detective. 2 weeks before cameras rolled, Stallone walked away and repurposed much of his revision for Cobra, a film nobody has quoted at a barbecue since. Murphy inherited a production whose script was the opposite of everything he was as a performer. Fact 2. The director chose the job with a coin toss, then chain-smoked through the shoot. Martin Brest arrived having been removed from War Games. When Simpson and Bruckheimer pursued him, he pulled out a quarter. One outcome meant yes, the other meant no. He got yes. The coin went into a frame on his wall. On particularly brutal days, Brest reportedly went through 7 packs of cigarettes, roughly 140 between the first setup and the last. Pages were rewritten so close to filming that performers sometimes had less than an hour with new material before delivering it. Beverly Hills Cop ended 1984 as the top-grossing domestic release, beating Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones and The Temple of Doom. It was the first R-rated comedy to cross $200 million domestically, a record that survived 25 years before The Hangover broke it in 2009. Fact 3. Someone handed Murphy a coffee, and he rebuilt an entire scene. Brest has described directing Murphy as a controlled experiment. Aim a camera at a force of nature and resist the impulse to stop it. In the police station scene, where Axel presents an elaborate cover story about an elite task force, almost nothing Murphy delivers came from any script. He rarely touched caffeine, but someone handed him a cup that afternoon. He set aside the written material and delivered an unscripted torrent to a room full of actors with nothing prepared. Reinhold later described it as one of the most exhilarating and terrifying acting experiences of his career. Ashton found physical methods to keep himself from visibly breaking down. Reinhold turned his back at one point, jaw locked, containing a reaction that would have ended the take. Fact 4. The stakeout scene originated as a casting room argument about digestion. Brest brought Ashton and Reinhold in together, gave them no material, and watched. What broke out was an argument about Rosewood's diet. Specifically, Ashton's position that Reinhold was carrying several pounds of undigested protein at any given time. Ashton was contemptuous. Reinhold was convinced of his own correctness. They kept at it like passengers on a long drive with the air conditioning broken. Brest built the stakeout scene around it, telling them to reproduce their casting room exchange on camera. The sequence works because it began as a genuine argument. Fact 5. The art gallery clerk arrived with an accent from no identifiable location. Bronson Pinchot came in for a role with a handful of lines, functional dialogue. He arrived with a vaguely European accent from no specific country, delivered with the certainty of someone who has never questioned how they sound. Brest stopped the audition mid-scene and began reconsidering what the character could be. Pinchot has traced Serge back to a makeup artist he had worked with, someone whose effortless air of superiority made everyone nearby feel slightly underprepared just by proximity. He amplified that quality and attached the accent. Other roles were trimmed. The character returned in Beverly Hills Cop 3 and the Netflix continuation, because the kind of performance Pinchot created is not something a franchise releases. Fact 6. Inspector Todd was played by an actual homicide inspector. During Detroit location visits, Brest walked into a working precinct and encountered, at a desk, a man who so completely embodied what Inspector Todd required that no standard casting process could have found him. Gil Hill had spent his entire professional life in law enforcement. No credits, no training. Brest's reported instruction: don't perform conform, just be who you already are. Hill returned for both sequels. After the franchise concluded, he ran for mayor of Detroit. The Beverly Hills Cop films were his entire involvement with Hollywood, an interval between policing and city government. Fact 7. The most memorable prop came from a hotel lobby fruit display. The banana in the tailpipe is among the most repeated lines of the decade. It was not in the script. The original scene was built around potatoes, denser, more mechanically convincing. The crew was then denied access to the Beverly Wilshire Hotel kitchen with no time to find an alternative. Someone located a decorative fruit display in the lobby, grabbed bananas, and brought them to set as though this had been the plan. Murphy improvised his response on the spot. "I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe." The accidental substitution produced one of the most durable moments in the film. Fact 8. Axel Foley had a different name, a different city, and a completely different personality. The project traces to a 1981 draft by Daniel Petrie Jr., written under the title Beverly Drive, featuring a detective from Pittsburgh named Axel Ellie, a name suggesting someone who sends handwritten notes of appreciation and becomes upset about minor plumbing issues. The character who eventually emerged shares almost nothing with that original conception. Through a decade of revisions, the city shifted to Detroit, the name changed, and the tone moved from a straight-faced revenge story to something considerably more alive. The transformation was not designed, it accumulated. $400,000 spent before a single scene was filmed. A director who decided with a quarter. A banana from a hotel lobby. We're not halfway through. Still coming. 3 people who all claim they invented Axel Foley. A Detroit school sweatshirt that generated demand from 5 states away. And the bonus, something Brest left permanently visible in the final cut. Fact 9. 3 people claim they invented Axel Foley. All 3 are certain. Then, Paramount president Michael Eisner traced the idea to a 1975 traffic stop in Beverly Hills. A polished Beverly Hills to his core officer pulled him over while he was in a battered station wagon, and he left convinced the gap between their worlds had a film in it. Producer Don Simpson placed the origin in his own 1977 development work. Former undercover Beverly Hills officer Lynn Franklin believed the project drew heavily from his 1976 memoir Sword of Justice and considered legal action. 1 studio executive with a speeding citation, 1 mega producer, 1 former undercover officer with a published memoir. All 3 completely certain. Fact 10. The soundtrack generated a hit that had no commercial reason to exist. Axel F. by Harold Faltermeyer was purely instrumental. No lyrics, no vocal. In 1984, instrumentals did not chart on the Hot 100. Axel F. reached number 3, positioning itself between power ballads and rock tracks because the melody had embedded itself before most listeners consciously registered hearing it. Glenn Frey's The Heat Is On, the unofficial accompaniment to every high-speed 1980s screen moment, peaked at number 2. Neutron Dance, paired with the film's opening truck chase, hit the top 10. New Attitude gave Patti LaBelle one of the biggest moments of her career. 4 charting singles from a single film. The opening notes of Axel F. remain an immediate cultural locator 40 years on. Fact 11. A Detroit school sweatshirt became the most requested item of clothing in the country. The wardrobe department selected the Mumford High School sweatshirt because it communicated something authentic about Axel's life before Beverly Hills. Before the expensive restaurants and polished precincts, Mumford was a real Detroit school. The sweatshirt was standard school merchandise. Someone put it on the biggest star in American cinema and thought nothing more about it. Fans in California, New York, and Texas, people with no connection to Michigan, wrote in to own what Axel Foley wore. Knockoffs appeared almost immediately. Licensed merchandise followed. Mumford High School closed in 2017. The sweatshirt is still in production. Fact 12. Murphy ended the CBS version, then came back on his own terms. In 2013, CBS built a pilot around Aaron Foley, Axel's son, working as a Beverly Hills detective. Barry Sonnenfeld of Men in Black was directing. Murphy appeared as Axel and took on an executive producer role. Test audiences responded strongly enough that the network wanted him back on a recurring basis. Murphy declined. He was not returning to television in any sustained capacity and was not going to make recurring appearances in his own franchise while sharing a time slot with NCIS. Sonnenfeld later suggested disputes between CBS and Paramount over control may have contributed. The pilot was shelved. Murphy eventually brought Axel Foley back through Netflix on his own terms. Fact 13. The film's coherence was never a given. The origin is still contested. The script passed through enough writers to constitute a small agency. The director arrived, having just been let go from another production. The lead stepped in 2 weeks before cameras rolled on material, built for someone with entirely different instincts. The project was pulled together from competing versions by people who were determining what it should be at the same moment they were constructing it. That a coherent and enduring film emerged remains one of the more difficult difficult things about it to fully account for. Fact 14. Serge was never meant to last, and never stopped. The character existed to deliver information and step aside. What Pancho built in the audition was a complete, fully inhabited person, specific in voice and manner, whose presence outweighed the scene he'd been written to serve. Brest reorganized material around what Pancho brought. Space was created. A role designed to occupy a few minutes became one of the franchise's most durable elements. Fact 15. The film that beat Ghostbusters still gets underestimated. Beverly Hills Cop finished 1984 ahead of Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, setting an R-rated domestic record that lasted a quarter century. It achieved this with a fragmented script, a director chosen by coin toss, a lead who stepped in at the last moment on material that didn't suit him, and a central prop improvised from a hotel lobby. The film that had no rational expectation of working became the defining release of its year. And now, the bonus I've been saving for last. Beverly Hills Cop was being written while it was being filmed. Pages reached performers with barely enough time to absorb them before the camera turned on. In one scene, that fact is visible on screen and has been in every version of the film since. When Chief Hubbard enters to confront Axel and the detectives, observe what actor Stephen Elliott is holding. The rolled papers look like reports, case files, documentation a precinct commander would naturally carry into a confrontation on his own floor. They are his script pages. Elliott had received his revised lines so close to the shooting of that scene that memorizing them was not possible. Rather than halt the production, he shaped the pages into something that looked like it belonged in a police chief's hands, walked onto the set, and delivered his lines from the document he was holding. Brest saw exactly what was happening. He chose to leave it in. Ronnie Cox, who played Lieutenant Bogomil in the same sequence, was reportedly working from material written approximately 30 minutes earlier. Watch that scene again. Watch the chief move through his own department holding the screenplay of the film he is currently standing inside. The production was being written as it was being made, and the proof is right there in the cut, exactly where Brest left it.